me about your creative process because you obviously write. Do you do any other creative things? Like, how do you fit your creativity in with normal life?
Now it's more difficult because because I do many stuff before it was easier. Because I have a full-time job, so that means I don't have a lot of time. And then I started organizing events, so I had less time. Then bigger events, less time. Then more events, less time. But yeah, I started writing like when I was living in the UK. I was like 23 years old, something like that. So I started writing a bit of poetry, and then I did a course for 4 years on creative writing, and then I passed from many poetry and like how is it like long texts and stuff, and then I decided, well, I saw that poetry was what I liked. So I started writing about myself. Obviously, I started with love poems. Love. I have a book. My first book was love poems,
Hmm.
and then I was like, "Oh my god, that's a it." And then I entered in a depression for like 2 years, and I think when I exploded and I started writing a lot, a lot, a lot. I have now 5 books, actually 5 poetry books published in Greece, and each book is different. I mean, different themes, more social. Then I have many poems about LGBTQI plus theme, but I cannot tell you I do it this way or the other way. I mean, I don't have a creative process because I do many different stuff. So if I write a poem, it's when I feel it. I'm not gonna go on the computer and say I'm gonna write now. I do what you said before. Every day I write like verses or words on my phone. Everything that is important for any important moment. Or if I have an idea, I write it down. So every day I write stuff and then I take them and I analyze them. So I take it like a prompt, what I write, and then I connect it with other stuff I have in my mind. It's for me to finish a poem, it's not like in one day. I mean, there are poems I wrote for months.
Hmm.
All my favorite poems, I wrote them in the aeroplane because I travel a lot as well. So I always what I write in the airplane. I don't know why. Then I work on it, and it becomes like it's in my favorite poems. But I work a lot on the poems. I changed a lot of stuff since the first version to arrive to the last version of a poem. It's many hours work.
Hmm.
Uh,
Do you find it hard to be satisfied with your poem?
Ah, it's very difficult to finish a poem because each
Hmm.
time I read them, I change. But now I think I'm more mature than before, and I can say this poem now is finished.
Hmm.
But for me, poems are alive all the time. So there's nobody who can tell you, okay, no, this was finished. Don't edit it anymore. No, you can go after 5 years and change the whole thing. It's up to you. It's your poem. But I like when I finish a poem, I feel like so relieved. I feel like normally I cry. Normally I cry. I am avoiding writing because when I write, it's very for me. I cry. I mean, it's very anxious. I become very anxious when I arrive to the end of the poem. I feel it,
Hmm.
and when I write the last verse, even before I work on it, I'm like shaking. And for me, it's like a very strong experience to write, to start and to finish a poem. In the mid way, it's like easier, but the start because okay, I know what I'm gonna talk about, so is getting hard. And then the ending is I always cry. I am always like shaking. Um, so yeah, I'm not satisfied all the time, but I can say that sometimes yes, I feel like wow, this is now out of me. Well done.
Yeah. My excuse me. My secret for finishing the poems now is that I tell myself that it's finished for now, because otherwise I'd never be satisfied and I would never be able to finish it. But I just tell myself, no, this is finished for now. I'm
Yeah,
okay with
yeah,
it for
that's true.
now. And then maybe I can change in the future. And that way I'm like, okay, cool. So otherwise I'd be like, no, I can't release this. This is not finished. It could be better. And then I'll just never get anything done. And I think that finishing things is difficult.
Yeah.
Finishing is difficult. It's really easy. If I was to write down the first verse of all the poems I've got in my head and the ideas, that's easy. Starting something is easy. And then as you write the verse, you're like, oh God. And you start getting more, and you're like, oh my God. Then I'm like, I hate this. I'm so terrible. Why am I doing this? This is awful. And I'm like, oh God, oh God. And that's why, like, now I write, 10 minutes each day, but I've got 8 or 10 poems I'm writing or whatever. And then I just kind of flip to one of them in the book, and then I just start writing on that one that night, because it means that then if I can't write on one poem, I can always write in one of them because they're all
Yeah.
totally different. So I'm like, oh, okay, maybe tonight I'm feeling a bit more
Yeah,
lighthearted.
you don't have to push yourself, actually. You have to go with the flow. You cannot push yourself, oh no, I need to write on this poem. Sometimes I get so anxious that I cannot continue, and I start like doing, stuff to my head, and like, I feel it. I'm like, okay, stop. I have to stop. There's nothing I can write now on this poem because I'm anxious already.
Yeah.
So you don't have to push yourself. It has to be a nice experience, not a stressing thing.
Yeah. And so for the key